expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Friday. And we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today because there was a meeting yesterday. And whenever there's a meeting, especially about city finances, we got tons of stuff to talk about.
So I guess the 2023 promise is out the window, huh?
Well, you know how you can tell the politicians lying?
Their lips are moving. That's it.
And not only that, but what they talked about yesterday fundamentally flies in the face of everything, lie upon lie. We always say, how do you know when a politician's lying that their lips are moving? Well, we all listened, and of course we were opponents of the debt override. And we said, we kind of predicted this would happen and it would never go away. Not only is it probably never going to go away, it's going to be implemented. They're going to try to implement it 3 years before it was supposed to go into effect. And with due respect to Paul Coogan, who was on the other side of this issue, he did speak up as a member of the school committee yesterday at that meeting and say that this was not supposed to, he admitted that they told the people this was not going to begin to take effect. And as far as I'm concerned, that was sold on that issue, and that vote was sold on that issue. And they can't override 2.5. They can't tax in excess of 2.5 without voter approval. We did not approve in the 2020 budget an override of 2.5, and Mary Sahadi basically said they need more than 2.5, which flies in the face of, we got tons of money in the bank. We're all set. This budget is great. And now they're saying they overspent again. And now they need in excess of 2.5. So people, when are you going to wake up? How many promises are they going to break? It showed that you can't get rid of trash fees and purple bags without it leaving a hole in the budget. Now that hole in the budget has to be plugged, and they're looking for ways to free up money so they can plug up those holes and not have to say what Flanagan said when he said, whoops, we got an $8 million deficit in our budget. Well, guess what? They overspent again. Now they're trying to tax you in addition to a 2.5 tax rate, implementing a debt override that wasn't supposed to go in effect for 3 more years, 3 more fiscal years. So be happy and listen, and remember, we had the mayor sitting in this chair, and where is it? Can I get it in the camera here? See this chair? It's empty right now, but so are the promises that were given in that chair. He said, he implied that, just like I eliminated purple bags and just like I eliminated the trash fee, we may not raise taxes after we look at everything. And now he'll say, I didn't mean this year. No, you're not only going to raise taxes to the max of 2.5, you're trying to get override and get MOA, which you can't, because I will personally file a complaint with the state because you can't do it.
Doesn't matter. DOR doesn't do anything anyhow. I don't know how many complaints we filed with DOR, and they've done absolutely nothing.
Well, this is a case that I think has to be adjudicated. The Attorney General, somebody's got to be able to, they're violating a statutory obligation on 2.5. They're mandated. It's a state mandate, because you know what else 2.5 says? If you're going to impose taxes on us that cost us more than 2.5 because of things you opposed, that you implemented, you got to pay. So guess what? Let the state pay that difference, because you know something? They de facto approved it if they don't act, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and the thing is this. That debt exclusion, that debt override was supposed to be used for debt service only.
Yeah.
Only. He wants to use it. And remember, people, this is Jasiel Correa who's doing this. This isn't just Mary Sahadi. This just isn't Kathy Evaveris. This is Jasiel Correa. And he wants to tax you more. He wants to use that debt override money to meet budgetary needs in the 2020 budget, because it's about $300 million. And accordingly, the debt override is $2.1 million a year, allegedly. Now, they never told us if that $118 was going to be a quarter, annually. So we could be getting hit with $118 a quarter.
But we shouldn't be hit with anything. That's the point. The point is that, let's for clarification for the people, they may try this fast shuffle game, but that, as you said, that debt exclusion was specifically for the Durfee High School construction. Right. So now, number one, they're under construction now, so they'll say, well, we're going to use it for construction. But what they do then is, if they did that to try to say that they're living up to the spirit, which they're not, because they said 2023. But what they do then is they free up money that would have come out of the budget that they were going to use, replace it with this override money, and then they spend it to fill up their holes. They did this many, many years ago, and I alluded to it on a show, when they were going to lay off 28 people from every department in the city, and they said they didn't have any money, but they added $6.5 million of federal revenue sharing to the budget, and then stole the other $6.5 million that they freed up, and it wasn't shown anywhere in the budget. It was their slush fund.
Right.
And I proved it in front of the council then, and the layoffs were avoided. But this is what they do. Oh, but we're going to use that for the school, for the cost. No, you said this, and Paul Coogan made it very clear. That's not what the people of the city of Fall River were told. And this is why we always say, never trust a politician with money. Don't give them any more than you have to give them. That debt override should have never been approved like the charter. So, I hate to say it told you so, but we told you so.
Yeah, and the thing is that people have to understand, if they implement that debt exclusion now, and they start using that money to fill holes in the budget, when they come to the end of this project, they're not going to have that 3 years of debt exclusion money. And what's going to happen then? It's going to have to come from somewhere. So the city's going to have to get, I will probably be dead by the time that happens, let's be real. But it's going to come from somewhere.
Yeah, and can we all say another bond?
Right.
Or another override, or another exclusion, which is an override. So again, what did we say when we were arguing against this process and said we really need to find the money to pay for it in our budget? Even if Kadeem said there was. What did we say? This is never going to go away. This is never. Taxes never go away. I don't care how they frame them. They just never go away. And as you said, if they use it now, it creates a hole like the tax revenue gotten from the trash fee.
Right.
The tax revenue coming from the purple bags. What these people, how many times do you people have to be told that when you take money out of your budget, because it's not there anymore, you still have to pay those bills. So you don't get rid of it. So you have to find a new way of paying. And guess what? There's only one way ultimately that the city pays its bills. That's tax you.
That's right. And again, we have outrageous water and sewer increases. Okay, I'm expected to have my bill go up to almost $600 a quarter. $600 a quarter. That's $200 an apartment. It's got to come from somewhere. And people are complaining online, oh, well, you know, $800 for 2 bedrooms, outrageous. $800 for 1 bedroom's outrageous. When you think about $200 per unit just in water and sewer, and then you add property taxes, insurance, maintenance, guess what? Property owners aren't making a lot of money on their property.
And statistically, just for the people who were complaining, we remember the article that you sent me a while back about we have some of the highest eviction rates in gateway cities.
Right.
The highest eviction rates because people can't afford it. And nobody's saying that it is outrageous to them. It's outrageous for somebody that's making $22,000 a year. But let's look at the facts. The fact is that the rents in Fall River statistically, and I had the statistics and I'll get them again for another show, are less than half what you're getting in the rest of the state of Massachusetts. So the landlords in the city of Fall River are not charging anywhere near what they're charging. Look at Boston. Boston's got some of the highest rents in Cambridge. Well, we talked about that article about the yuppies that were complaining about they only had $500,000 to put down on a house and they couldn't afford one in Cambridge.
Right.
So, you know, that's the thing. You could buy 4 houses for that and have no mortgage in Fall River. But the reality is, look, this is one of the problems, people. This is one of the problems. You keep letting these nitwits spend your money. Nobody is outraged and goes down and said, we got to get rid of this mayor. Nobody complained, except us, about the $40,000 pay raise Mary Sahadi got. Nobody complained about $20,000 pay raises. Nobody complains about 11% pay raises and 20% wage reclassifications and all the millions and upon millions of dollars they spend taking care of their friends. And they never ever look to deliver services and have a lean, effective government. No frills. No, we got plenty of frills. And they keep spending money. Like you said, give them the Sahara Desert, they'll run out of sand. When are you going to be outraged? How many times do we have to prove that everything they say is a just flat-out lie? All they're doing is sitting on the 6th floor, figuring out how they can make all their friends rich with TIFs and low-cost loans, give all their other friends that don't have money jobs where they can make money and give them huge pay raises and stick it where the sun doesn't shine to the taxpayer. When the hell are you going to learn? We got to get rid of these nitwits. And if the city council approves this budget, implementing this override illegally before 2023, every single one of them should be ridden out of there on a rail. This is disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful, and it is a surprise, well, not to us. We said it when we were fighting against the debt override, when we were fighting against the charter. But I'll tell you what, chow mein sandwich and a little BS, and they can convince you into anything. You'll sell your children into slavery when they get through with you, because obviously you're not paying attention. How many times do they have to do this? How many times do they have to screw up? Again, Jasiel Carrera is being exposed as a flat-out liar. Our financial team is either lying or they're the most incompetent financial team in the history of the world. Because if I remember correctly, they said we had plenty of money, a lot more than once. Am I correct in that assumption, CJ?
We've heard that too many times.
Yeah, that's all they ever
but every
say.
time, right after they say that, they always come back and say, we don't have any money.
Oh, don't worry about the pay raises. We got the enterprise fund will pay that. Oh,
Right.
Don't worry about this. We got plenty of money. We got money in a stabilization fund. We got everything. And then they continue, as you said.
It just amazes me how we always have enough money.
Until we don't.
But then we don't. Right? It's almost like the next day we don't have enough money. It's just like the answers you get in the city council chamber. Okay, I don't have those numbers right now, but I'll have them for the next meeting. Yeah, they need a whole week to manufacture these numbers. You should have those numbers when you walk in the door, not about, I mean, Bob Connors had it right down to the penny.
Yeah, well, and it was in his contract that he had to appear to the council to answer any questions. He was, and so are they. It's in there. That's their obligation. They're there to do that. And you know something? They'll come up with numbers. if you say that every time they don't have an answer, we get a deduction in one of their stipends and pay raises. And by the way, there was another mayoral stipend in that budget.
$5,000, $10,000.
Yeah, they were talking about more stipend. Yo, let's give them all. We'll get to one of these other dimwit ideas, but let's give everybody more money when we can't afford what we got. Our budget, we're overspending so much because remember, that's what taxes are, spending. You can't do that in your house. You can't say, hey, you know something? I can't afford a $65 steak at the Capitol Grill today, but I'm going to get one anyway, so I'm going to get all my neighbors to give me the money to go out and get a steak. No, you better go to McDonald's and eat off the dollar menu, because that's what you have to do. But that's not what the mayor has to do. He makes a budget and they just, okay, we don't have enough money, even though the law says we can't tax in excess of 2.5, after we've added a ton of money to 2.5, by the way, with all these TIFs that we gave.
Which we have to pay.
Which we have to pay because it goes into the taxable base that's computed on.
It goes into the tax levy on the city.
Yep, the tax levy based on the city, and so therefore we're paying that. Then we add all these fees, and like I said, people keep saying, and I love it when they say, although they haven't said it in a while, but maybe because I'm mentioning it, they'll say that at the budget hearings. We have one of the lowest tax rates in the state. No, we don't. Take the ratio of how much money the people in Fall River make versus how much they pay. And don't only look at the property taxes. Let's look at all the other things that are actually taxes, veiled taxes. Water bills, as you said, that's a tax because nobody gets out of a water fee. That's always been, and I still contend, that is a tax because a tax is defined as something that everybody has to pay.
That's right.
And everybody has to pay a water bill. Go down and tell the city of Fall River, oh, I got a cesspool. I don't want to pay the storm water.
They actually made it illegal to have those.
That's right.
Every residence must be connected to city sewerage.
Well, you know why? Because actually, if they took them to court, they could win the case. On it, because it is a tax.
Right.
But let's look at the stormwater fees, the excise. Now they're talking about, by the way, we had an article, I think, a couple of shows ago about projected increases in excise taxes, right? So, yep. you know, batten down the hatches, you're not only going to get a massive increase in your water bill, you're going to get a massive increase in your excise taxes and everything else. But remember this. They told you that we had plenty of money. The mayor, when he ran, said, I'm eliminating trash bags. We got plenty of money to defray that cost. Well, matter of fact, we might not even raise taxes at some point in time. Maybe the next election. So here we are again, because what they said in political code was, we're screwed. We don't have enough money for the budget we put together. We got to figure out a way to get more money. And one of the ways is figure out a way to tax in excess of 2.5, and Mary Sahadi fundamentally said, we don't have enough money within the 2.5 parameters to pay for this budget. So guess what? You know what my answer to that is, and what the city council's answer to be? Well, find it, because you're not going to tax the people in excess of 2.5 on our watch.
And, you know, they're going to do it anyhow. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to do it. And it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, it would not surprise me if they try to have the city council put on the ballot for November a 2.5 override. That wouldn't surprise me. It'd be too late, but it wouldn't surprise me because they'll have it in future years. And the problem I have is they proposed a $300 million budget with $2.1 million being necessary for the interest payments on the debt exclusion. Not the principal, but the interest payments. You read that, right? I didn't read it wrong.
Yeah, no, you are absolutely right.
So there's $2.1 million on a bond, which means they already have all the money for the school. They just have to stop paying on it. And they said that we were going to have to pay on it until 2023. Now it looks like they're going to say 2020. And as long as they're putting that money, and if that money generates $2.1 million and it goes on the debt exclusion, okay, I'm a little PO'd because it wasn't 2023, but it goes there. Don't tell me you can't meet your budget. And again, $2.1 million in a $300 million budget is chump change. It's chump change. They spend more than that just on assessing whether or not to fix the streets. So what do? I mean, Sean Kadim said that it was feasible to put this in the budget and the city could afford it. We agreed that it could be afforded and put in the city budget. It wasn't put in the city budget, and now we know why it wasn't put in the city budget. Because they had already spent the money before they had it.
True. That's what they always do.
They spent the money before they even had it. And, you know, you were talking about rents a little earlier, and you here again, blame Jasiel Correa. Jasiel Correa is jacking up the average rent in Fall River because he's bringing in all these market rate houses, all these market rate apartments. When a one-bedroom market rate apartment goes for between $1,200 and $1,500, other rents are going to follow suit. So as long as the landlords keep seeing that the people are willing to pay $1,200 and $1,500 for a one-bedroom apartment, they're going to jack up their rates to $900, $1,000.
And they have to, because they're paying these millionaires that are getting TIFs and have no expenses, and write off their all their expenses, which there are virtually none, but they figure out ways to get through. They're not getting hit with $6,000, $8,000 water fees. Now, you get somebody who owns a regular residential property, not a market rate housing, as you said. It's just simple economics. You're going to say, well, if they're getting $1,200 to $1,500 for a one bedroom, I just got whacked with an $800 increase in my water fee. I have to, I basically have to turn some of this debt, if not all of this debt, over to my tenants.
That's right.
And if they don't like it, this is the reason they have such high eviction rates in gateway cities. People don't have the money. They're putting people out in the street, and they're creating issues for landlords, because we all know how difficult it is to evict somebody. You end up not getting rent, they destroy the property, and that's just not fair. But then again, the rich get rich and the poor get poorer. And the rich people that got the TIFs and live in single-family houses and own all this quote-unquote market rate housing don't give a damn about this. They're not people who are trying to make a living or own a three-family house or a couple of three families and trying to make a living by getting affordable rents for their people. They're running everybody out of business. It's kind of like quickly at the Stop and Shop. We'll get back there later, but they're on strike. But one of the press releases said that they can't get a contract, yet their shareholders got an 11.1% increase in dividends over the year, so the expected payout is $880 million to their shareholders. But these people, most of whom in Stop and Shop are working for minimum wage or barely above minimum wage, can't get a damn contract from a company that the shareholders got an 11.1% increase in their return, and that is going to cost $880 million in payout. But there you go again. If you're going to tell me there's not two societies in this, the rich and the poor, and Fall River is perpetuating that, this council cannot allow this kind of crap to continue, because we are going to have no city. We're going to have junkies, welfare rats, and rich people. And the only other people that are going to be here are the people who are shackled to their homes because they frankly can't afford to take the hit on their house and start a new mortgage. That's the only people that are going to remain. We cannot, and we're going to talk about attracting people. How are we going to attract homeowners into this community when we got crime, tremendous taxes, tremendous water fees, and everybody's running out of here like their butts are on fire if they can. So
it's impossible. It's truly impossible. And when you're looking at what's happening in Fall River, we're not the only place it's happening. It's happening in New Bedford. It's happening in Lowell. It's happening in Lawrence. It's happening in Worcester. And look at what Worcester just got. They got a huge stadium coming in there.
Yep.
And now they're having problems buying the land to put the stadium on. They want to take it by eminent domain now, and they can't even do that. And who's footing the bill for that new stadium? The Worcester taxpayer. Because they're getting millions and millions of dollars in TIFs. or tithes, which is a tax incentive exemption.
For multi-millionaire business owners.
Right.
The people who own the Poor Sox, or what do they call them now, the Woo Sox?
It's got to be called the Woo Sox.
The Woo Sox, that's quite a name, Wu-Tang or something, I don't know. The taxpayer, again, gets hit on the chin because that's what happens. And that's, we need a revolt in this country. We do need to get these people out of office. The only way to fix this problem is make career politics, make a career politician go the way of the dinosaur. We have to make them extinct. We have to put them in and out like a revolving door. To quote Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, politicians are like diapers. They should be changed often and for the same reason, because they're full of crap.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. And again, in this city, and as you said, CJ, it happens more in the cities that can afford it the least. Because, look, I know our superintendent tried to use Weston with a population of 11,291 as a comparison, which is absurd.
Not in the same universe.
Second richest city or town. It's actually a town. You can't compare a town with a city. But the second richest town in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So do you really think that they have issues with paying their bills when, depending on what statistic you look at, I think the low figure for their median income was $153,900 and something. So let's go $154,000. We'll round it up because it was only about $60 or $70 short of 50. And that was the low end. I found some other stats that had it over 200,000. So, if you're making 200 grand, well, you don't really have to worry about paying your water bill if you got one, which you probably don't. So, but that's 10 times the per capita income in Fall River. 10 times. Houses in that community start in the millions. I think 1.5 million is probably the low end. So it doesn't happen in communities like that. It happens to the people who can afford it the least, and ironically, the people who can afford it the least are the people who pay the least attention to what the hell's going on. And we've been telling you this for years. Pay attention. This is important. If they implement this override of 2.5 before the date that they projected it was, and the council approves it, they should all be gone.
It's a problem. And again, how many times have we come out against something and the public, tries to eviscerate us? Our viewers don't, but the public tries to eviscerate us. And then we're found, like this time, we're found right. Maybe if you people listen to what we're talking about, we don't base these things on our opinions. We base them on facts.
Yeah, and everything they say flies in the face of what's good for the city. Now, look, we got the stipend for Monica Souza that was proposed. Again, giving her a stipend, I guess, for dumb ideas. I don't know. So she came up with the idea of the food truck. And it's like, and this is a quote from her. In the past, Fall River wasn't only friendly to food trucks. Quote, unquote, quote, our restaurants are really the best, and a couple of them, there's only a couple downtown anyway, were complaining that the trucks were too close and they felt it would affect, they were taking business, and they're right. So there we have some downtown restaurants that are hanging on, not by, they're not really doing super well. I'm sure they're not doing that well, but now they're going to stick food trucks down there to take away business. And she's going to get a stipend for that idea. Even though, let's do something to implement. Well, we'll lower their taxes, put it on the working man, and then try to screw their businesses up even more. So listen, if you can't get angry over the weekend thinking about all this stuff, please look at the tape look at the tape of that meeting and listen to the chaos that it was.
And remember, there'll be no show on Monday. It's Patriots Day. Hopefully, if you're going to the marathon, you have a good time, but it's going to be wet. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Wednesday.